What does the compost do when you feed the tree with compost?
Yep. So the compost will help the leaves break down faster, but that's not really the point. I mean, that's great, but what I'm arguing, so I'm discussing two things here. One is that you should leave some of your leaves in a radius around your trees, and I'll discuss like some strategy for that. And the other thing I'm arguing is you should put some compost down in that drip line, like especially if you're removing your leaves, you should put compost down. And our compost is great because it's a food scrap compost, so it's full of the riches of food, fruits, vegetables, meat, dairy, seafood, all that. So
great, thank you.
Yep.
Do leaves need to be chopped, or we can put them down as is?
Yep, you don't need to chop them, but I will argue that you need to put sticks down first, like right now, and I'll talk about this a little more. You want to put sticks down first, and then let the leaves fall on top of that, and that helps keep airflow, because you have to remember that your roots are breathing oxygen. But I'll talk about that. Yeah, go ahead, Ann.
So again, I want to ask, you're saying you don't need to like mulch the leaves. We have a mulcher with our lawnmower. Is that something we have to do, or can we just put, like you said, full leaves, full form leaves?
Yep, you can just put full form leaves, but it will kill your grass. So what I'm arguing is you have like a 10 or 15 foot radius out from your tree trunk, where you have leaves and sticks. And you definitely have less, it's a thinner layer near the trunk, but it's thicker when you're getting near the drip line. And I'll talk a little more about that in a couple minutes.
Thank you.
But the mulchers on the mowers, I think they're good if you're trying to keep a lawn and like feed, because the mulcher comes through, breaks up the leaves, and then usually if it's not too thick, the grass will grow up in between those leaves. And so you are effectively feeding the lawn, and the feeder roots are in the lawn.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
All right, another question?
Cricket had a question.
I withdraw.
Okay.
Well, actually, I was curious about oak leaves. They're so acidic that if we compost them ourselves, don't we have to be careful about where we put them back?
That's more for vegetable gardening. Okay. But you know, the oak tree, if it makes acidic leaves, then that's what it's expecting. That's what its roots are expecting.
Yeah. That thoroughly understandable.
Yep. One thing you do have to be careful about is, so I would argue you need to put sticks down first, because trees like Norway maples, their leaves mat, and you end up you can end up smothering the roots. So, all right, Colleen, I see you have a question, but I'm gonna start talking about the method here. Let me go back to sharing. Screen sharing. All right. So, so there's two key concepts I want you guys to understand. One is that the roots actually go laterally, and they're feeder roots under the drip line. And I think the drip line is a really important concept. Again, it's you find where the canopy ends, and right underneath that is your drip line. So if you're following on the screen share, you can see kind of showing the drip line there. Now, the other important concept is that every single cell, living plant tissue in the tree breathes oxygen. So the leaves breathe oxygen, the living tissue in the trunk breathes oxygen, the roots breathe oxygen, and they eat sugar. So like they're doing the exact same thing that we're doing. Like the tree is very similar metabolically to us. We're breathing oxygen, we're consuming sugars. So, and it's important to remember that the leaves are breathing oxygen and the roots are breathing oxygen. So they need airflow. And that's a lot of the reason why they're at the surface, like just under the soil surface, is because that's where your air exchange is. So the only special thing about the tree is that the leaves happen to also produce oxygen and produce sugar. And those leaves send the sugar down to the other cells in the plant. And that's what gets consumed. But all the cells breathe oxygen, and they get that oxygen from the air. They're not getting it from the leaves. Like when the leaves produce oxygen, it's really just going out into the atmosphere. So that's why I argue that we should put our sticks down first. And a lot of what we're doing is we're trying to mimic a soil surface. So let's draw some sticks down here. So you're kind of placing sticks all around in this area. Like as you have a branch come down or like just a stick in your yard, break it up a little and lay it down. And yeah, it takes a little time, but like also putting them into a bag and driving it to the compost site also takes time, and it costs money, or hiring a landscaper, all that. So, and also it's some physical activity, and kids love breaking sticks. So there's a good, it's like 2 in 1 there. Hey kids, go break up some sticks. All right, so you got your sticks down, and you're accumulating sticks through the year. They're just coming in. Now, when the leaves come down, you can rake them, and I'm going to use a darker color here for the leaves. So you want to rake them and kind of lay them out in this area. So if you break up the drip line, you got like 1/3. So from the trunk to the drip line, that first third of the distance, like from the trunk. So if you draw like a small radius around the trunk, it might be like 5 feet or so, depending on how big your canopy is. That's where a lot of the large roots are, and there's not many feeder roots there. And that area, you don't really want to like have it thick with leaves. So like you should put some leaves and mulch there, but not much. It's really that second third and beyond where you put leaves. And now you might have lawn out here, and that's fine. So just don't, you can choose how much, like how far out the leaves come from your trunk. I'm suggesting like at a minimum 10 feet out from your tree is some sort of like natural looking forest cover of leaves and sticks. And, the area closest to your trunk is the thinnest part. But if you want to, really, help your tree out, then go a little farther. And maybe there's some sections where you have more lawn getting closer to the tree, but like the other half of the tree has more like forested area. where the feeder roots can feed. So it's really up to you, and just think about how, like right now, you probably have lawn right up to the trunk. So really anything's better than what you have now. And like, you don't like, just kind of fit it to how you feel. So this is kind of how you would lay out those leaves. And the best tool for that is kind of spring rakes. And I'm going to stop sharing for the moment and just kind of show you my yard a little bit. And I think you can see it. So we got some flower gardens here. So here's, so this tree. So we got sticks on the ground, and yet you might say it looks like crap, but I don't think so. And when you put sticks here, this is your prep for when your leaves come down. So, and when the leaves do come down, it makes a nice mulch, and it actually looks really good. And so we did that this year, and all the leaves got consumed. As you can see, there's really nothing left there. But the sticks do remain, which is nice because they kind of build up to keep your loft going on. And you can see over here, and the grass grew back in a bit, and that's fine. But you throw your sticks down, and when the leaves come down, you rake them in there. But you don't want to rake too many. Like I was saying, near the trunk, maybe that's a couple inches thick of leaves. But then as you come out, I'd say your maximum's like a foot thick. So you may still have extra leaves. And that's fine, because you already know how to manage those. You either take them off site, or maybe you have a pile in the backyard in the forest. All right, does anyone have any questions? Go ahead, Cricket.
Well, sometimes leaving all those leaves just isn't possible. So, is your compost product an alternative if we have lawn that we have decided to preserve for one reason or another?
Yes. Yep. And I'm not being dogmatic here. I think if you want to have areas that are lawn, then you should, and that's fine. And that's where our compost can come in. Is it helps you kind of have that lawn and feeding of that drip line. Because what is our compost? It's really leaves that have been broken down and have nutrients embedded in them.
How thick do the sticks need to be for the mulching part?
How long?
How thick? How thick of a layer for sticks?
It's really what you have. It's nice if they can crisscross a bit to kind of hold up some loft. So, hard to say. Go ahead, Dylan.
One of the other callers was talking about the mulch from a mulching mower. I guess I'm still going to rephrase that question and try to ask it again. So if I have a mulching mower, and usually what I do is just mulch up the leaves and bag them up, can I not use those shredded leaves to kind of make this bed, or are you concerned that it's too densely packed and it's not going to breathe well enough?
Yes, you're exactly right.
Okay.
So I think mulching and then applying the leaves around the tree, it's going to be too densely packed. And the other thing is that they'll break down really fast. And in that breakdown, those soil organisms, they're breathing oxygen. And so, and they will get first dibs at oxygen before your tree roots. And I mean, that's the same thing with lawn. That's why lawn is not good for tree roots, because the grass is getting first dibs at the oxygen before the feeder roots do.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
What about moss?
Sorry, go ahead, Stacey.
What about moss?
What about moss? Like, do you have moss down around the drip line?
No, but I'm putting some moss around, and I'm just wondering. I have moss in my yard, and I'm moving some around, but I'm just, does it compete with tree roots?
Sure, but I think less because its roots don't go that deep. I think moss is a good idea, but you might want to keep it, you know, out of that. That they call it the stovepipe of the tree trunk. It's like that inner third of the drip line. That's where you don't want it to be too moist, because that can lead to, you know, rot of the trunk. Go ahead, Catherine.
So I have a similar question. You said the grass is too competitive for everything for the roots, and I have the same question about perennials. Like, I have all perennials around my trees. I guess I'm not going to get rid of them, but are they providing the same amount of competition as a lawn would?
No,
Okay.
they're not. And actually, ground cover is like that kind of ground cover is good in that area.
Does it kind of act like sticks?
It doesn't act like
It's not, doesn't provide
Yeah.
as much. Okay.
Well, yeah, it depends what kind of ground cover. If you have like lily of the valley and you're raking leaves on top of that, it's, you know, that'll
Yeah.
hold leaves up, but you're gonna be killing that lily of the valley.
Right. That's my other concern, is that is sort of killing off. But my other question is, so if I leave all my leaves, then I probably don't need to also apply compost, would you say?
It's true, yeah, but
Okay.
I would also argue that the compost, because it's nutrient rich, can feed the roots that are in your lawn, and it can add nutrient back. Like, because if you've been removing leaves forever, then that tree might need something, you know, back.
I mean, I've been leaving my leaves down for 2 or 3 years now.
Yep.
If not a little more, so, okay, thanks.
Yeah, I don't think it's not a bad idea, because it's a big tree, and the compost is like a little bit every year.
Mm-hmm.
Gives it some nutrient that it may not be getting elsewhere.
Thanks.
And on the perennials, actually, within that third, the stovepipe of the trunk, that's a great place for like perennial herbs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, or like that's a great place for a pollinator garden.
Mm-hmm.
You know, native wildflowers or native herbs, or
Except that stuff all needs a lot of sun.
yes, it does. But
The tree
there's
is
some that
providing all
don't.
shade. Sorry?
There's some that don't need a lot of sun, but you, like, if you're gonna do that, you should start that on the south side of the tree, and then, you know, those pollinator gardens will self-spread. So if you start on the south side, then it will spread around the tree as much as the light will allow.
Great. Thank you.
All right, let me show you about applying compost around. So I have a little stop motion action here. Whoops. So it's not a video, but it does flip through, and I'll go slowly because I don't know how it's going to come through on the screen. But essentially, I'm about halfway, or I'm like under the drip line of this tree, and I take my wheelbarrow. You know, with our compost for carbon drawdown, you get 5 wheelbarrows, or you can get more if you want. but the minimum's 5. And then I make small piles around the tree. And I'm going to start flipping through. So you can see I am taking my wheelbarrow, dumping a little bit, backing up, dumping another pile. And so, you know, I'm halfway around the tree. I got 6 little piles, like really not a lot. Like one big wheelbarrow kind of gets you most of the way around the tree. Now I'm using my spring rake and I'm raking out that compost. And basically I'm just raking it out to the point where there's no like piles that smother the grass. And you can see that looks kind of brown where I've raked the compost, and you'll see compost, and that's fine. Like when you let it, if you let it rain in, the grass will come up through, and then you're not going to see the compost. Yep, and there's my son kind of helping me. So that's basically it. Like when we send you the compost, we give you directions just on how to do that. And it's very simple. And it's actually a good, like, you can do it now. So, or you can do it when the leaves come down and you're already out there with the spring rake. So it's kind of a double whammy there. And let me show you. So this is what we're delivering. Here's our new conveyor truck that, like I was saying at the beginning, we've been working on how to like distribute these small amounts of compost. So here's a half yard. It's about like $80 to $100 delivered, depending on where you live. Like in Cape Ann near our sites, it's like 70, I think. So we're coming around in the next 2 weeks. And here's a video of the conveyor truck. We basically put a conveyor into a truck. And it's really nice because it allows us to measure and have more control when we unload. And we're coming around in the next 2 weeks, week of October 16th and the one after that. We're just driving through and delivering a little bit to anyone who signs up. And that's we're able to like keep the cost low because we're just driving from house to house through the neighborhood. We're like snaking through all the towns to just do this small distribution.
Andrew,
Yeah.
how many wheelbarrows full do you think one of those loads is?
So it's about 4 or 5, and
4 or 5. Okay.
that's like this size wheelbarrow here.
Okay.
Joe, go ahead.
Hey, Andrew, is this any less dense than what's in the bags? I usually purchase it in the bags. It's pretty dense in the bags. I usually cut it with some sand or some peat.
It is drier and a little fluffier because it comes as bulk.
Mhm.
Like in the bags, it can be a little moister just because it's been sitting maybe at a garden center.
Mhm.
But like, so keep in mind the half cubic yard, that's about 16. I'm sorry. It's about 14 bags of compost.
Mhm.
And, you know, if you buy that at the garden center, you're at like, you know, $160. And
Oh,
you
yeah, it's definitely better to have it
go there.
delivered. It's,
Yes. Well, even still, we charge like $10 a bag.
Mhm.
So this is a much cheaper way to get it. And the other nice thing about the conveyor truck is it doesn't dump. So like you can see these power lines and tree branches above the truck. We don't have to dump and like potentially hit that. And it makes a nice small pile. So you don't even need like a big tarp.
Yes, thank you.
Andrew, do you do this in the spring as well?
We do it all year now. So we're actually switching to all conveyor trucks. But this program specifically where it's like the price is lower because we're getting people to sign up all at once in like all these neighborhoods, and our truck just snakes through, you know, Eastern Massachusetts once. Like it's cheapest now during this like program.
But will you do this program again in the spring?
So we do it in June and October, because June's another good time to like feed your tree roots.
Okay, and then, okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, I can't answer the door. I have to be on this.
Let's see, what other questions are there?
Sorry, I just am not gonna be able to go answer the doorbell.
Can you just take?
Mary asked what if there's other plantings around the drip of the tree. Just don't smother them. If it's something you want, just, you know, put leaves around that, because they'll benefit from mulch too. And then Colleen asked, how long should we leave the leaves around the drip line? So you basically leave them for the whole season, because the leaves over the year will break down and disappear. You know, as they're consumed. And something no one asked about was samaras, which are the seedlings of the Norway maple, you know, which is an invasive tree. So the Norway maple, like one of its hallmarks is that it drops its samaras and they sprout in the spring. So, and yeah, if you leave the leaves, yeah, they're going to start sprouting up, and that's kind of annoying. But there's an easy technique on a like sunny spring day when it's going to be sunny for a couple days. Again, you come through with your spring rake and you just kind of rough up the leaves just as those samaras are sprouting, and that kind of flips them over and exposes their root, that they're like tiny, you know, initial root. And if it's in the sun, that's going to dry out, and then they basically shrivel up. So that's a really easy way to manage those. And also it's nicer to manage those because if that Norway maple, you know, the helicopter lands on the soil and that seed tries to sprout in the soil, it's harder to manage, because now you got to get down your hands and knees and pull it out of the soil, because it's more like firmly attached in soil. But if it's just sprouting in a layer of leaves, it's like you can come through with that spring rake and just ruffle the surface and disturb 90% of those samaras.
Andrew,
Yes.
I lock horns with my landscapers every year because they cannot leave the leaves alone, and it's how they earn their income. I just don't know how to stop them removing the leaves.
I know. Yeah, maybe you need a different landscaper, or maybe tell them. Yeah, it's hard because they're not going to break up sticks, you know, leading up to the fall. You can ask them to put some leaves down, but what they'll end up doing is they'll use their blowers and they'll just blow them around your tree, and then it's going to be too thick. So, you know, it's really a like by the hand job. And this right here is your best tool, the spring rake. And I mean, it's good exercise. And one tip when doing it, you know, after you've been raking a bit on one side, you know, switch arms and rake on the other side every 30 seconds. Just switch sides, and that helps keep your body balanced as you're doing it. All right, so another question Carol mentioned about the use of peat. Yes, we are trying to reduce the use of peat. So we've been using rice hulls instead of peat for our bagging, and we are trying to make a potting soil, and we're trying to use ingredients we can get in New England as opposed to peat. Because I just went through the garden center and looked at every bag of potting soil there, and they're all essentially peat. But we are, you know, next year or the year after, you'll see in our garden centers that we sell at a potting soil product that's not going to have peat. And also, we actually have a leaf mulch product coming out in bags this year. So you'll see that at garden centers too. Kate asked about fire pit ash to plants. So wood ash is extremely alkaline. So that's high pH. It's up in the 10, 11, 12 range. And it's very strong. So it is okay to spread through a yard. And it is actually good because what is ash? It's everything that didn't volatilize into the air when the fire was going. So that ash is your calcium, magnesium, manganese, silica, and that stuff that's like raw ingredient of the tree. And so your tree does need that back, and just don't put too much down. Just sprinkle it around your yard, and then the next time you have ash, go to the next area and just go through your entire yard, lawn, and just sprinkle it a little bit. It's really good stuff. Colleen asked about a blue spruce that needs needles removed partially because they're damaging part of the tree. Is it good mulch? I don't know specifically about your blue spruce tree, but I would say that, like, if a tree's letting its needles or leaves down, then that's what the feeder roots are expecting. Yeah, so, and then all right, so she clarified, is the mulch good for a blue spruce? So the compost is good for that because, again, it's nutrients and organic matter. And so spread it in that drip line away from the trunk, and just follow the directions we have with our compost for carbon drawdown. And I guess I want to show you guys one more thing. I don't know, is anyone aware that we're building a new compost facility?
Yes, it's great.
Where?
Yeah. It's in Manchester, Massachusetts, and some of you may have donated to it, and we really appreciate that because, like, there was a time when the cost was very high. Well, it's always been very high, but there was a time when we were scared to move forward with it. And, you know, getting your guys' support was, you know, helped us, like, have the courage to move ahead. Because really the cost fell on us completely. The town pulled all their funding, and it was basically up to us to, like, revamp this landfill into a compost facility. So this is where it is, or where it was about 2 months ago. It's in beautiful Manchester by the Sea, and it's an indoor facility, 140 feet long, 60 feet wide. It's designed to, like, be close to neighbors, because essentially here we are in Eastern Massachusetts, and you know, there's no land for waste management, and there's neighbors, but yet there's all this yard waste and food waste that needs to be processed. So food waste goes in the front, you know, it's nasty and wet and smells, but we capture the liquids, we capture the air, we filter the air through a biofilter. The compost is in the building for 3 to 6 weeks. We get our pathogen kill, our moisture reduction, we get the worm kill. And then when the material comes out the back, it goes on a conveyor up the landfill, and we finish and screen it up there. And, you know, we'll have it, we're hoping it'll be open at the end of December. It really hinges on National Grid, who is a monopoly and has no incentive to move quickly, it's on National Grid to like get their work done for us to finish this project. And when that does happen, then we'll have an opening, we'll let you guys know, we'll live cast it, and yeah, it should be exciting. And we want this facility to be a model for, you know, the rest of Massachusetts. You know, every 10 towns should have something like this, which is designed to responsibly manage food waste and make compost that can be used to feed our trees and, you know, keep our neighborhoods cool and keep our trees out of the mulch yards and, you know, then grow new food. So this facility is also designed to like export that like rich, nutrient rich compost back out to agricultural areas that are like hour, 2 hours out, and really enrich those soils where our food is grown. So that's exciting. Let me do one last thing. I just want to show you on our website how to sign up for Compost for Carbon Drawdown. So, and you got to sign up before next Sunday. So blackearthcompost.com, you click buy compost, and so it brings you, so order products online. It brings you to this where you enter your address to see what's available. So we'll just say Main Street in Gloucester. Click next. And it's this right here. It's called lawn compost for carbon drawdown. So you can also use this compost for feeding your lawn or feeding your other gardens or top dressing your raised beds. Like, you don't have to use it for feeding your trees, but that's like what we're arguing you should do. And, you know, half yard here, it says it's 120 per yard, but that means it's $60 for the half yard. And then you got your delivery fee. So then you type in, you know, dump on tarp in driveway, so the driver knows where they're going. Add it to your cart, and that's it. And we actually have a program where you can carpool. It's called Compost Carpool, but you find a neighbor, you send them your carpool code, which you get at the end, and I would type it in here, whatever it is, and that cuts your delivery fee in half. So, and then you basically fill out your information, and that's how you sign up for this program. Yeah, what other questions do people have?
How would you determine how much you need, like versus, you know, a half yard versus a yard? How would you like estimate what you actually need?
I would say 1 wheelbarrow per tree that you want to feed. And if each half yard is like 4 to 5 wheelbarrows, like go from there.
Oh, okay.
Like my yard is 10,000. Well, I guess just track the house. Maybe it's like 7,000 square feet of actual lawn, and like a half yard would probably do half of that. But yeah, yeah, you can always get a half yard and see how it goes, and then, you know, get another half yard next year. Like, what I'm arguing is this should be something you do every year.
All right, thank you.
Go ahead, Shinley. Yeah, you're muted if you're trying to ask a question.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead, Kim.
In the spring, so do we just pick up those sticks in the spring, collect them and save them to put down again in the fall, or do you just leave them there year round?
I would just put so in that area around your trees under your drip line, just as you're getting sticks throughout the year, just break them up and toss them down in that same area.
Okay.
Because like come springtime, you're still going to have that leaf layer
Right. Okay.
in there. So you're just tossing leaves on top, and then you're basically just layering leaves and sticks.
So if I don't have a supply of sticks right now to use, what do I go buy sticks? Or
No, don't buy sticks, but
I have some you can have.
okay. I mean, I may have a few. We have an ancient apple tree in our yard, and we're picking up apples from July on. And so sticks they usually get picked up along with it. I didn't know about this, and I've been confused about leaves, leaving them, picking them up. I mean, I've heard that it can cause funguses, and I don't know. And then I hear it's good for the insects. So a couple of years I just leave everything, and then I read something else that makes me think I'm supposed to rake them. I think now I'm just I'm gonna follow your program.
Yeah, sticks and leaves, just layering those, and keep the leaves no more than a foot thick, like when you apply them, and because then they'll shrink down to maybe like 6 inches. Like when you're raking them on, don't have that fluffy leaf layer more than a foot thick.
Right. And then the wind blows, so are you constantly chasing the leaves around to keep them in that drip line?
Maybe once or twice, but once it rains and the rain will like pat them down,
Yeah.
so a foot will go down to like 6 inches.
Okay.
And at that point, they really don't move.
Okay. Wonderful.
That's a good question.
Thank you.
So I put a question in the chat, but I'll just ask it here.
Yep.
I need help doing the math. I have 3 like giant maple trees, and that's pretty much it for trees for me. And I have a big long stairway from my driveway down to the backyard. So getting a single dump is logistically really difficult. So my question is, how many bags would I need for if I've already got several years worth of leaves that I've left?
So a half yard is about 14 bags. I think you should just
3 bags.
That's a lot of bags. So, maybe just get like 10, which is the smallest delivery we do of bags. And just, spread them in the drip line, maybe 3 per tree.
Yeah. Okay.
But like for that area, maybe you want to focus more on sticks and leaves and just some compost.
Yep. Thanks.
Lumi asked about if we're planning something similar focused on vegetable gardens. So like I said, this compost is good for vegetable gardens as well. And you can, spread some in the vegetable garden. And we're also delivering like this with the conveyor truck next year in all year. So spring and then again in June. So it just in June it's a little cheaper, and in October it's a little cheaper because we're doing like one big circle through Eastern Mass.
Thank you. I asked that question. I was thinking also about maybe webinar like this focused on how we better care for vegetable gardens with compost and leaves and stuff like that. If there are like bigger differences between vegetables and trees care.
Yeah, there certainly are. But so when you get our instructions, it'll be a sheet like that comes with the compost, and it has directions for perennials, annuals, which are vegetables, and feeding trees.
Great. Thank you.
Yep. Cool. Are there any other questions?
Yes, I have a question. Should I still be mulching in the spring at all?
With like a bark mulch.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you like that look, and if you're looking, if the leaves don't give you enough weed suppression, then yeah. If you like to do that, then you can.
Okay, thank you.
But the leaves do suppress, like the leaf and stick layer does suppress weeds. Like in that area I showed over there in my yard, we don't have weeds coming up. Cool. I'm just taking some notes. So then next time we do this next year, I can
Andrew,
answer some of these questions.
Andrew,
Go ahead.
this is excellent. I just want to say thank you. This is really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you.
Agreed, ditto, ditto. This is
Yeah.
wonderful. I
Cool.
hope you
And
can do this more so more people can get this information.
yeah, I mean, that's why we recorded it. And like, honestly, just tell people about the Compost for Carbon drawdown program. And it comes with instructions that kind of like break this down, you know, as simple as possible.
One thought, Andrew, is that the local libraries often have webinar series, like the Library Consortium in the area.
Yep.
That might be a great way to disseminate this to a lot more people who are connected to the libraries.
Yep. Do you know if there's like a one webinar where I could speak once and be at a bunch of libraries at the same time?
Exactly. That's what happens. Like one of the libraries will advertise on their newsletter that there's this webinar coming up, and then everybody in the consortium area, which around here is most of the greater north of Boston area, is a bunch of libraries in the consortium. So
Okay.
I guess you just contact somebody at Newburyport Library, they would tell you how to go about it.
Okay. Yeah, it's called Library Consortium. I see there's a Boston one, Merrimack Valley. All right.
Merrimack Valley Library Consortium would be the one.
Has a ton of kind of town
Middlesex.
middlemen, the middlemen library.
Yeah,
Okay.
the Minuteman Library. That's right. Huge network. Thank
Something
you.
else I want to mention actually is like, so any nonprofits or groups or anything like scout groups, schools, they can use this Compost for Carbon drawdown program as a fundraiser. So those, you can disseminate the information within your network, and it just has a QR code or coupon code, or you just name the group, and then we pay 10% back to that group for whatever. Like up in Newburyport, we're doing it with the schools, and the money's going to their scholarship foundation.
Are you working with River Valley Charter School?
Not yet.
They would be perfect for this.
Cool. But even like a Climate Action Network or a Mothers Out Front, like that works too. River Valley Charter School. Okay.
Johnny Lynn Evans is the head of the school.
Okay. Is that who I should talk to?
Yeah.
Okay.
What about like a religious institution?
Yep. Absolutely. We work with a bunch of churches on this.
How do you sign up?
Just email us bulk sales at blackearthcompost.com or compost at blackearthcompost.com. Like, contact us through the website. You'll just say you're interested in the compost fundraiser, Compost for Carbon drawdown.
And you would have to do it now or in the spring or?
Anytime.
Okay. And then we just get members to order from you.
Exactly. And like list your group's name.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
I'll send a note to Johnny to let her know that you might be in touch, or have her get in touch with you.
Okay, who's that at the River Valley?
Yeah, Johnny Lynn Evans.
Johnny Lynn Evans. Okay. Cool. I just one last thing. We have new raised bed sizes. I don't know if you guys have seen our smaller raised beds, but we have bigger raised beds now. I'm sorry, we have smaller raised beds now. These 4x4s and these 3x6s.
Oh,
And like that's because like with the conveyor truck we can deliver smaller amounts. So that that's what we've been trying to do, is be able to make it cheaper and cheaper for everyone to like get our soil and compost products. And the conveyor truck's a real innovation on that.
Question, can you do a raised bed on a paved surface, or do you need to be on soil?
Yep, you can be on paved surface. Just not on a deck. People keep asking us that, but it's like too much weight for the deck.
Yeah.
Do you think raised beds help keep out rabbits and woodchucks, or you still need fencing?
Yep, they help keep them out. It's just another barrier.
what about chipmunks?
They can get up, but again, it's just another barrier for them. You got that, it's about 2 feet there, and it's less bending over for you.
Yeah.
We have a sale on our bigger raised beds right now. It's like $50 off.
Are they white cedar, FYI?
Nope, it's just spruce pine fir.
I'm
And-
sorry. The container beds are spruce pine fir.
Yep, it's a spruce pine or fir wood.
Why not cedar?
It would make the cost way too high, and then like people wouldn't be able to buy them. But what we find is that the death of a raised bed is not really the boards rotting out, it's the fasteners. So that's why we have these corner posts and we have these really strong fasteners. So like that's really the death of a bed. Like the wood rotting is not really the issue. So that's why we don't think cedar is necessary.
Got it. Thank you. That helps. I'm sure my clients will appreciate a lower cost for the beds.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like we're trying to make it more accessible to grow food. So, and if you're a landscaper, like contact us, because we have like some rates that are good for you. So then you can like keep the price the same for the customer.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Well, if that's it, time to go enjoy the rain.
Thank you very much. This was great.
Andrew, I had a question for you. I don't know if you saw it in the,
Go ahead.
but I don't want to keep everybody on, but the mulch that we have already out front around the trees, how do we deal with that and your compost? Do we mix it together or remove the mulch?
No, I would just leave the mulch. I mean, but I also imagine the mulch is pretty close to the trunk, right? And
Yeah.
I would just put the compost under the drip line. So walk out to the drip line,
Yep.
and then place the compost there. Like,
Okay.
I can't imagine you have mulch all the way out to the edge of the drip line.
Well, we actually have a walkway. Yeah. Thanks.
Actually, I think getting the compost mixed in with the mulch is good, because when compost deteriorates, when it breaks down, it draws stuff from the soil in its breakdown process. And the compost will be very good for resupplying what the mulch has removed.
Yeah, mulch is a nitrogen draw. And so that's part of the reason it does suppress weeds, because it's kind of like depleting your soil surface of nutrients. Compost is actually best under mulch. Like if you are going to mulch each year, put compost down first and then the mulch on top of that. But again, you want to keep it away from that stovepipe of the tree trunk, you know, that inner third, which is about 5 feet around the trunk. And like, you want that area not to be like moist. You want those large trunks like kind of drier.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
I just planted some new trees in front last year, like the ones that we decorate for Christmas and all. And one of them looks kind of dry, and I don't know if it needs some of this what is it? Yeah, compost.
Yeah. Any tree will benefit from compost in its drip line. And then the leaf mulch on top, that is going to help keep the roots moist and feed the roots. And all that is going to help the tree, you know, keep its moisture and resist drought.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right, I'm going to end the meeting, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, bye.